Good evening, Stanton. This is Scanning Mode with Venn Kyber. With context clues, I'm Venn Kyber. What's the Mako got on scope today? Well, it's a hot drop into the heart of the storm with Blackrock, whose tagline of no allies, just business really sings when you put the business end of an Idris against the throat of a Valakar sandworm. Watch that backblast. 14 ATLS power suits loaded up with repeaters dropped from Atmo into the heart of worm territory. It turns out no amount of radiation, chemical rain, or worm acid can stop that kind of firepower. Oh, and did I mention they hit it with an Idris? Look at that fireball. Who knew you'd need sunglasses on Pyro 1? But let's back it up, folks. Scanning Mode has just secured its UEE broadcast license, which means that we haven't had the opportunity to share with you, dear viewer, the action-packed org landscape of the verse. You'll be surprised just how much is going on that isn't directly in your view screen. First, as a part of my broadcast license contract, the UEE demanded politely that I feature some of the fine work of the UEE Navy. The 44th Battle Group, a Naval Reserve Expeditionary Unit, has been hard at work protecting UEE citizens. Last week, the 44th Battle Group, in partnership with the UEENR and the 12th Battle Group, fielded 8 capital ships and over 20 fighters in order to break a blockade over Crusader OM-1. While the pirates were broken that day, it appears they were emboldened by this action and have continued to blockade ports and jump points across Stanton, most recently Everest Harbor. Rear Admiral Michael Richards of the 44th Battle Group, call-signed Shooter, had this to say.
I will not sugarcoat it. Through Militia Mobilization Initiative and our Commander simulations, those criminal organizations also get their hands on near military-grade gear and training. Thus, sometimes our small units gets outnumbered. Yet through heroic actions of our officers and enlisted personnel, we do our best to preserve liberty.
The 44th Battle Group and their allies were routed at Everest Harbor and are recuperating as we speak. The UEE Navy has its work cut out for it as more pirates spill out of the Pyro Gateway into Stanton. Black Moon Syndicate, a burgeoning org which has rapidly grown over the past few months, decided to test its teeth against Stanton's defenders. What began as a few missing freighters ended up getting tangled up in a naval police action. The fight over one freelancer devolved into a knife fight between capital ships. The 44th Battle Group and other UEE-aligned organizations converged. When pressed for comment, Black Moon Syndicate had this to say.
The UEE calls us pirates, but they're the real thieves. Taxing and strangling every system they touch. Out here, survival and profit come to those willing to take action. The UEE calls it a crime, but we call it business. With Black Moon Syndicate, piracy, industry, and opportunity are one of the same.
This intense pirate activity has been happening all year, and I think it's important that we go back and highlight one of the largest actions taken this year, featuring millions of AUEC and over 260 individuals. This started in January of this year when Nova Intergalactic, one of the largest UE-aligned organizations, set out to conduct the single largest humanitarian run in history. 7 months of planning saw Nova collaborate with Citizens for Prosperity, a humanitarian group providing critical medical aid to the citizens of Pyro. 450 million AUEC of medical supplies would set out from Stanton to Pyro and be delivered to Canard View on Terminus. On the 16th of August, what had become known as Operation Phoenix launched. 125 pilots, crew, marines, and more approached the Pyro Gateway as scouts learned of a pirate fleet amassing on the other side. MAMMON, Griefernet, and a coalition of other pirates were tipped off to the massive shipment and set off to prepare an ambush. But in Pyro, Nova's plan was already in motion. Above Chala's beach on Pyro 4, a small strike force of 30 drew the attention of these pirates and baited them into an early attack on what the pirates thought was Nova's primary fleet. However, this was just a distraction. Nova's main battle forces trickled into the space above Chala's beach as more and more pirates joined the incredible fleet battle. Hundreds of fighters and numerous capital ships engaged each other, reaching a peak of 260 combatants. Meanwhile, across the system, Nova's 450 million AUEC of medical supplies were quietly heading towards Terminus. Amidst the battle over Pyro 4, the humanitarian aid was successfully delivered. Nova's operation was a success despite their fleet being routed. Mammon, when requested for comment, responded,
Scamming mode,
and blocked my communications. Scamming mode? Really? Come on, you can do better than that. To this day, Mammon and Griefernet are still claiming victory despite the original intent of Nova's action. Next up is Balor Manufacturing, a new subcontractor of Crusader Industries, who is suing Crusader after a failed Seraph thruster briefly put an Orison platform into freefall. Balor is claiming the quarter second of failed thrust resulted in 6 million AUEC of damages. We're recording this broadcast on that very same platform, so maybe you'll get a live video of what that looks like. Division and violence are the words of the day, but I think it's worth us looking at something a bit more joyful for a moment. A Christmas truce, if you will, but in 2954. Let me set the stage. On one side, we have Imperium, one of the largest and oldest Star Citizen organizations who sits firmly in the anti-piracy camp. On the other side, we have Mongrel Squad, which, look at this name, look at this logo, look at the video that they post on their social media. You can guess where they stand on piracy. As you can imagine, they have clashed frequently over the years, which might be known as economic disagreements. They're solid rivals, but this year, both orgs were present at CitizenCon 2954, and Imperium brought this beauty. Yes, that's a fully modeled Bengal fleet carrier. Handmade, hand-painted, 2 meters long, it's stunning. They had to contract a nomad to ferry it out to the convention center, but once the convention was over, they realized they didn't have a way to bring it back. You can't exactly fit a freelancer in the convention center parking lot. So they resigned to throwing it away, knowing that there was no way anyone could carry that massive model back to the spaceport. That's where Mongrel Squad came in. Having a vehicle on site, Mongrel Squad offered to help their rivals get their art piece back to a safe location, as long as Mongrel Squad got the bragging rights of being the first org to steal a Bengal. And so it was, for a few weeks in the private quarters of a Mongrel Squad pirate, the model Bengal was kept safe until Imperium were ready to return and liberate it, with a handshake and a few t-shirts to boot. How charming is that? While Imperial and Mongrel Squad might be back to scrapping it out in Pyro, it's good to see what the galaxy could look like with just a little less violence. It's important that I say that this broadcast is brought to you by Kelto Con Stores. Kelto Con Stores, you can find one in every hauling station, orbital platform, and city. Get your Hydro Froz frozen drink with novelty cup for only 5 AUEC. Please, I beg of you, buy something. This is not a sponsor, this is worse. Next slide. Nope, not that one. That's not me. Not my wolf. Intern, I'm talking to you after this. Next slide. Okay, back to the news. While the UEE Navy has its hands full, the Galaxy's corporations have taken it into their own hands to solve the piracy problem. Military contractors have flooded into Pyro to strike at the heart of this loose organization. Dubbed Operation Black Eagle and Operation Broken Katana, the combined Expeditionary Force 9 has conducted multiple strikes on headhunter strongpoints on Pyro 4 this past week. CEFIX stands amongst many non-government organizations acting against those who intend to disrupt the quality of life of UEE citizens. Oh, yeah. Hey, did you hear that? That was the Seraph thruster pausing for a quarter second. Intern, did you feel that at all? No? Yeah, I don't think they're getting 6 million out of that. For the record, that's speculation. Don't sue me, Balor. Thank you. Our last story of the night concerns ASD, Associated Science and Development, who's a weapons R&D corporation which has faced significant backlash since their founding for their treatment of planetary ecology, internal culture, data breaches, just to name a few. Since they left UEE space, this has only gotten worse. Reporters from HCN News conducted a thorough investigation of ASD's conduct after their last incident, which resulted in 3 members of the public dying after viewing their EE6 electron cannon. ASD blamed atmospheric fluctuations and it was raining, but has not taken accountability for their actions. Despite a formal investigation by UEE advocacy and calls for boycotts from human rights organizations, ASD is still actively conducting research that violates the codes of most scientific ethics boards. If you want to learn more about this, tune into HCN Radio on your mobiGlass, hcnradio.com. Their coverage is extensive, and I highly recommend checking it out. Just like with the piracy issue, we know what happens when the UEE does not properly respond to problems of the scale. Independent actors will get involved. ASD might be scary, but you know what's worse? PMCs and pirates with experimental unconventional weaponry. Can you imagine me with an experimental electron cannon? I see you shaking your head, intern. Before we go, I want to highlight that we have a form that you can fill out to submit your news. If your organization has cool things going on that you want us to know about, if you're fighting against other organizations right now, tell us. Go check it out. Link below. Thank you. That's all we have today for Scanning Mode. We are an independently funded news organization and will gladly take your handouts. You can find where to give these handouts in the description below. We even accept ancient Earth United States dollars because your accountant is a collector. I'm your host, Venn Kyber, and good night.